Hey there, Ian Higton from Eurogamer here. Now, recently we released our list of the 20 best Nintendo Switch games that money can buy, and it's proven to be pretty popular. Almost 500,000 of you have watched it so far, and of course, people took to the comments immediately to share their own opinions as to what should have been on the list and what shouldn't. And it looks like we left a lot of your favourite games out. So what follows, in no particular order, is a brand new list of the 20 best Nintendo Switch games money can buy, but this time it's according to you. So if you don't agree with it now, you've only got yourselves to blame. Enjoy.
They've declared a state of emergency.
You're on. Move out.
Roger.
By far the most popular suggestion left in the comments for our original video was Platinum Games' Switch exclusive Astral Chain. This sprawling adventure binds together police procedural, overstated pugilism, and so many different genres in between. Astral Chain is first and foremost a piece of pulpy science fiction. Its backdrop a fantastical post-apocalyptic future that's been ripped asunder by chimeras from another realm. You take control of a cute-as-hell cop who can tame and control these chimeras and use this collection of supernatural, superpowered pets to dispense justice, all as you're picking up littered cans from the streets and helping rescue cats for passers-by. If all that sounds awesome, I'm delighted to confirm that it very much is. What really makes Astral Chain sing is how it weaves together so many different genres and references so many different games, but still manages to emerge as something entirely its own. It's an RPG on one level, but on another it's about sleuthing, speaking to NPCs and scouring open-ended levels for clues. And then of course there's the action, which is some of the very finest we've come across, all delivered with a seamless quality that often leaves you breathless. Astral Chain should definitely have been on an original list because, as the cool kids say, its gameplay is off the chain. The beautiful pixel art characters and landscape of Celeste don't really prepare you for the brutally precise platforming that lies ahead of you at the start of the game. This adventure stars a young lady named Madeline who wants to climb to the top of a mysterious mountain, although perhaps climb is the wrong word here because instead of ropes and harnesses, all Madeline has at her disposal is a decent jump, the ability to clamber up most surfaces, and a one-use multi-directional air dash that refreshes whenever you touch the ground. Carefully placed gems allow you to recharge your dash in mid-air though, and after a short while you'll find yourself chaining moves together so confidently that someone peering over your shoulder might think Celeste is a game about flying rather than jumping. But getting to that level of skill is going to take a lot of dying, and I mean a lot. Thankfully, Celeste saves your progress at the start of each screen and gives you infinite restarts, so even though you'll undoubtedly have some hair-tearingly aggravating moments, the game will have you coming back for just one more go, time and time again. One word of warning though, it may be worth investing in a Pro controller for this one because the Joy-Con D-pad is a little unresponsive. Although, actually, while you're at it, maybe it's best to grab a couple, just in case you accidentally launch one of them out of a window in a fit of gravity-induced rage. Somehow, quite a lot of you managed to get rather annoyed about the fact that The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition wasn't on our original list. Now, normally with a game of this calibre, we'd agree with you, but considering our list came out a few days before this phenomenal port was released, featuring it before we'd had a chance to test it out for ourselves would have been a little bit naughty. Thankfully, The Switcher has been out for over a month now, and it's more than earned a place on this list thanks to the complete edition cramming every bit of DLC and upgrade into one 32GB install, making it the most technically ambitious game on the Switch so far. As in the previous games, you play Geralt of Rivia, a freelance monster hunter with mutant blood who uses swordsmanship, alchemy, a little light magic, and some finely honed tracking skills to get his prey. It's huge yet crafted, its systems are purposeful, and it doesn't have a whiff of design by committee. It'll last you months, yet not waste your time, and above all, it has a vivid, enduring personality, something that is exceedingly rare among its breed of mega-budget open-world epics. For our money, it's the greatest role-playing game in years, and when combined with the portability of the Switch in handheld mode, it makes this experience very special indeed. In fact, it's a stunning technical showcase for the Switch, and a credit to the developers who made it happen. Geese are dicks. I know that, and you know that. Untitled Goose Game knows that geese are dicks too, and it makes a virtue of it. Indeed, it makes an entire game out of it, because here you are, the goose, terrorising a small village that gently unlocks as you progress through the short adventure. Be the arsehole, live the dream. It's a concept so pure, so universal, that developer House didn't even have to bother coming up with a name for the game. The underlying structure of Untitled Goose Game owes a lot to adventure classics of the 90s, bringing that same sort of twisted logic and puzzle solving to the small sandbox you're kicking around in. Each small area comes with its own set of objectives, some easily achieved, stealing the groundskeeper's keys for example, while others require a great deal more inventiveness. It's a curious mix of styles, part LucasArts adventure, part physics-based silliness, and part Hitman, and in that way, Untitled Goose Game fulfills its brief admirably. You are the baddest goose. What's more impressive is that it all hangs together so well and provides something that's surprisingly rare in video games today. Pure, deep belly laughs. Honk! Pokémon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee have been designed to please both Pokémon veterans and newer fans alike. The familiar Kanto region from the first generation of games has been remade and brought up to date with some incredibly cute visuals in this installment, but the world itself has remained remarkably unchanged. This means it'll appeal to fresh eyes and those who are after a bit of nostalgia. In docked mode, motion controls for catching are compulsory, but they are quite fun, and they're surprisingly satisfying with the regular rumbles of the Joy-Con or Pokéball Plus. This new catching mechanic also shifts the emphasis of the games back towards collecting, so expect to be grinding your way towards a full Pokédex and letting out excited squeals whenever you stumble across a surprise rare spawn. Some of the changes to the battling and catching may not have gone down incredibly well with the hardcore fans, but this is arguably the best Pokémon game available on the Switch, so the only question now is, do you choose Pikachu or do you choose Eevee? Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate is a ludicrously generous game, and its 14 weapons, each served by 6 movesets, give you an obscene amount of depth and complexity to how you approach each hunt. And hunt you will, because you've got a massive amount of monsters to go up against here, around 93 in fact, including a roll call of the great, good and everything in between from the series, like the lolloping Nibblesnarf and its big dumb gaping maw, and the Quechuacha, a monkey fox that manages to be both nightmarish and cute. There are even all-new monsters here, such as the Valstrax, the savage offspring of an elder dragon, and a jet fighter that thunders murderously in your pursuit. Throw all of that together and you've got an absolute abundance of game, and perhaps the definitive Monster Hunter experience to date. If you want to explore everything here, there are hundreds, if not thousands of hours of play to be had. This is Monster Hunter at its most arcane, but also at its richest, deepest, and most generous. It's a variety pack of ludicrous scope, as mad as a box of Palicos, and every bit as charming too. Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate does ask an awful lot of you, but oh boy does it give an awful lot back in return.
This child, he is the one?
There's the mark. There's no mistaking it.
Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age is an enhanced version of Dragon Quest XI made specifically for the Nintendo Switch. A lot has been changed for this new edition though, embellishing the original in all the right places and adding a fair bit more besides. The opportunity to play set pieces from past Dragon Quest games is an extension of the 2D mode that's included in this Switch edition, and it's even possible to play through the adventure entirely in 2D. Elsewhere, Akira Toriyama's artwork has never looked better, the soundtrack never richer, and this time around there's an orchestrated score, although there is the option to go back to the synthesized version of the PS4 original if you've gone completely mad. This Switch version also improves upon the glacial pace of the original, with a new option to speed up battles even further. This helps with progression, takes some of the pain out of the grinding, and makes Dragon Quest XI's long journey that bit more palatable. Is this the best Dragon Quest? Some people believe so, and there's no denying the eloquence of its craft or the vastness of its scope. In terms of scale and spectacle though, this is as grand an adventure you'll find on the Nintendo Switch this side of Breath of the Wild.
Go. Save the world.
Sonic Mania, Christian Whitehead's absurdly lovely homage to Sonic's 16-bit heyday, is Sonic without 20-odd years of slowly accumulating bullshit. The wider pantheon of sidekicks like Shadow, Silver, and Big the Sodding Cat have been cast headlong into the screaming cosmic abyss from whence they came, reducing the playable lineup to the Holy Trinity: Sonic himself, long-suffering Fox acquaintance Tails, and beefy Echidna rival Knuckles. The game's 12 zones mix comprehensive, extremely playful reworkings of classic levels from Sonic 1 through to Sonic & Knuckles, with 3 brand new stages thrown in as well, and the game's exquisite pinball handling and smooth-scrolling raster graphics are an incentive to let go and really revel in the sense of velocity. If new players will fall in love with the game's sheer opulence and aesthetic quirkiness, the glory for a returning fan is to explore how the familiar has been rendered unfamiliar. There's equal delight to finding props and enemy types from certain classic layouts transported into others, or old tricks probed mischievously for additional knock-on effects. What's old has become new, and Sonic is once again the star he was supposed to be.
Any fading hope that our worlds have left to survive the coming darkness lies in your hands alone.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3: The Black Order might be the first Ultimate Alliance game in 10 years, but it follows its predecessors closely. 4 Marvel characters on screen, smashing scores of enemies to bits using a combination of light and heavy attacks, special attacks, and screen-clearing ultimate attacks. With the camera in classic view, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 has a Diablo vibe to it, just as its predecessors did. Thankfully, the combat is as satisfying as it needs to be for this kind of game, and everything benefits from the new cel-shaded art style, which makes for a more colourful and vibrant look than the previous 2 games. We've seen this kind of thing done before, and better of course, and compared to other action games, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3's combat can be simple and repetitive. Ultimately, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is just fine, but it still feels like a last-gen game visually and in design. You can see it in every door you have to press a button to open, in every recycled enemy, in every spotlight you have to wait to pass, and in every move block to the right pad puzzle. While it's definitely nowhere near the top of any of our best of lists, it had plenty of fans in the comments of our last Switch video, and as such, it's earned its rightful place here.
Look at this place. It's amazing. So this is your world.
That's right. A whole nother world. Let's be off, shall we?
Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch follows the story of an orphan boy called Oliver, who journeys to a fantasy world after the death of his mother. It's a familiar Studio Ghibli theme, a lonely child bravely growing up before his time, and here it's told with elegant sentiment. This is a sumptuous adventure of great sophistication and craft, and the gameplay wastes no time at all in getting you involved. If you're expecting a simplified, all-ages adventure though, forget it. Ni no Kuni is not afraid to test you either. Boss fights are abundant, and the regular battles between them are far from thoughtless chaff. After establishing the basics, the game stretches its legs and offers consistent challenge, regularly stepping up the toughness of the monsters you face and offering some thorny tactical combinations. Ni no Kuni is rich yet breezy, classic yet modern, exquisitely made, and completely sure of itself. Best of all, Level 5 and Studio Ghibli's artists have worked together to create a gorgeous adventure that feels like it belongs to both of them. Diablo 3 Eternal Collection is a fantastic port of the classic loot-hoovering monster masher that we all know and love, and it includes both the Reaper of Souls and Rise of the Necromancer expansions. The Switch version of Diablo 3 allows players to dive straight into adventure mode without completing a campaign playthrough first. Adventure mode is the free-form, fast-paced and extremely Moorish playstyle structured around quickfire bounty quests that was introduced in Reaper of Souls. Many players prefer it to repeated runs through the game's rather long-winded campaign, and therefore seasoned Diablo 3 players who want to play it on the go but would rather skip the storyline will be in for a real treat. This all adds up to an excellent addition of a great game that of course is a perfect fit for portable play, and as an added bonus there are some Zelda-flavoured Switch-exclusive cosmetics available too, like a Ganondorf-inspired armour set and your very own pet Cucco. That's a clucking great deal in my opinion.
The legend of Aesir, a legend from the dawn of time. A struggle caused the trinity of realities to be split into three realms: light, darkness, and chaos.
What hits you first about Bayonetta 2 is the sheer amount of colour that's been squeezed into this sequel. The lysergic palette is enough to make angels weep, leaving the original game looking dreary and muted by comparison. There might be more technically impressive games out on the Switch, sure, but when it comes to pure, eye-searing spectacle, there's nothing that can come close to Bayonetta 2. The rhythm of the combat remains the same as in the first game, though it's hard to complain when it's riffing off such a heady beat, where chimed enemy attacks are lively dodged in slow-mo pugilism, where impossible combos culminate with a 20-foot boot weaved from hair crashing from the heavens, and where spinning amongst the avalanche of colour and cartoon violence is Bayonetta herself, stopping only briefly to wink at a player exhausted by the unrelenting joy of it all. Perhaps the best thing about Bayonetta 2 though is that it delivers such a great experience on the Switch. In the title's most demanding areas, the docked Switch offers a substantial improvement over the performance of the original Wii U version, and this allows for much smoother, more responsive action than before. Basically, this is the definitive version of an unforgettable game, and you should definitely Bayo-getter it for your collection.
Now, Umbra Witch, the left eye of darkness must return from whence it came.
The trouble with having Fortnite on a list like this is chances are everybody already owns it, what with it not only being free to play, but also one of the biggest games in recent history. So it's almost like, what's the point? But you lot couldn't believe it wasn't included in our original list, so here it is. Mechanically, Fortnite on Switch is the same game as you'll find on all the other platforms, as it must be in order to make cross-play a possibility, but the visuals and frame rate have taken a bit of a hit on the Switch. Thankfully, even after all the nips and tucks, the classic Fortnite flavour is retained, and you'll rarely notice the difference in performance between docked and handheld modes. And quite frankly, as a handheld experience, there's nothing quite like it. The controls are spot on, and it's remarkable to see the Switch join a 100-person battle royale with platforms ahead of it in power spec. It's not a simple proof of concept, this actually works, and even with the occasional frame rate issues, it's an enjoyable conversion of one of gaming's biggest hits. If the Switch version of Undertale is your first experience with the game, you kind of owe it to yourself to go in blind, because one of the big problems with Undertale is that it's hard to say too much about it without spoiling it. Its pleasures lay in its surprises, its willingness to wrong-foot you, and how its chorus of goofiness crescendos towards a climax that's desperately, beautifully sad. What sets Undertale apart from other games is its spirit. Undertale has the erratic energy of a fanzine, the sincerity of a scratchy garage band 7-inch, and the warmth and character of a hand-drawn comic strip. It's a work that's winningly, touchingly, and uniquely human, and that humanity's in the writing, the characters you meet, and also in the structure of Undertale itself. It's the writing that first gets you hooked on Undertale, but over time it's the deeper design that will likely wow you. It's far from a perfect game, with pacing issues and a lack of thought placed into some of the encounters dragging it down, but all you really need to take away from this video is the following. If you have any love for video games or any interest in the stories they can tell, then you should definitely play this.
Hello? Mario.
Now, I can get that a few people may have been surprised by the absence of the Switcher in our original list, seeing as it came out only a few days after the video aired, but Luigi's Mansion 3, there were people posting about us missing that off the list before the game had even released. That's crazy. But anyway, after finally playing the game ourselves, it's safe to say that Luigi's Mansion 3 is well deserving of a place on this top 20 list. While the game apes the traditional formula of the GameCube original for a couple of flaws, with Luigi using his trusty poltergust vacuum to slurp up ghosts and money from every crevice, it's the appearance of Gooigi that brings the whole thing into its own. Gooigi is an absolute star, a blank-faced avatar for your partner if you're playing in co-op, or just a gelatinous double for you when you need a second pair of hands. He's quietly terrifying, a living Haribo man, barely sentient, unable to move unless being controlled by someone else, and yet he is frequently part of the game's most testing puzzles. Luigi's Mansion 3 has some brilliant boss fights too, and you'll do battle on a pirate ship, amongst dabbing ghosts on a disco floor, you'll go up against a dinosaur, and all this again makes the most out of the limited arsenal that Luigi has on offer. This third entry feels like Luigi has left the haunted house and gained free reign around the neighbouring theme park. And oh my, what a theme park it is, and it's left us excited to see where the series goes next.
What will befall our missing Mario and friends, and his dear brother Luigi? Their fate rests in your hands. Luigi's Mansion 3.
Steamworld Dig 2 is as faithful a sequel as you could imagine. Just like the first game in the series, there are 2D mines to explore that are filled with soft earth for you to dig through as you progress ever downwards. In the depths of these mines, there are enemies and jewels buried about you, the first to avoid or dispatch with a swing of the axe, the second to take back to town to sell to buy upgrades. Steamworld Dig 2 is full of secrets and optional caves that are ripe for exploring, and this makes this feel like a kind of stripped-back Metroidvania. Some of its best puzzles lurk far from the main path, and there are even a range of artifacts to find and return to town in exchange for exotic gadget blueprints. It's not just a straight-ahead adventure game though. At times, Steamworld Dig 2 really surprises, and it does so in one standout section that brings a unique blend of stealth and a touch of horror to the proceedings, and also in an ending that ties various things together in a truly ingenious way. And when you've seen the story played out, well, you'll have only really scraped the surface of all the secrets buried down there in the dark, so you'll be clamouring to get back in there for more.
You got a star!
Super Mario Party is the 11th console entry in the series, so it's hardly Mario Party's first rodeo. But as the first for the Switch, this new game is also a chance for Nintendo to take the formula in a new direction. Like most entries in the Mario Party series, if you're looking for a solid and dependable party game, this will absolutely do the job. The variety and silliness of the minigames is always a recipe for hilarity with friends, and Super Mario Party displays that classic Nintendo charm. There's a choice of 4 boards in this Mario Party game, with 3 available from the start, and 1 which can be unlocked at a later point. It's a lower amount than many previous games in the series, although along with some new modes and 80 new mini-games like the excellent Slapperazzi, there's still enough variety overall that this doesn't feel like a major loss. The boards themselves are, as ever, gorgeously presented. Mega Fruit Paradise is particularly vibrant and recalls memories of paddling around the tropics of Delfino Plaza in Super Mario Sunshine. It has its issues, sure, but Super Mario Party still delivers a solid and dependable multiplayer experience. So if you need some light entertainment to distract your Christmas guests this year, this game will be the gift that keeps on giving. Golf, as they say, is a good walk ruined, but what if you combine knocking balls about with a charming and frankly whimsical RPG? Well, you get Golf Story, a wonderful hybrid of generous length and considerable charm in which you play as an upstart golfer attempting to crack into the Pro Tour and rekindle some of the talent you first displayed as a child. The world of Golf Story is a delight to discover, tied together with cartoon logic and a love for the links, full of haunted groves and blissed out beaches, all rendered in superb Super NES style. The world is full of side quests and mini-challenges, all of which dole out XP and level you up, earning you upgrade points that you can use to improve your drive, reduce your draw, or increase your ability to shape your shots. The way Golf Story continually melds golf and the 16-bit adventure RPG together is intoxicating, and the fact that this is also a half-decent golf game in its own right is something of a bonus. You'd be justified in buying it for its golf alone, to be honest, and there's even a quick play mode which allows you to play on the courses as you unlock them. You can even pop on over to a mate's house to play them in competitive multiplayer if you really want. Just remember to take 2 pairs of trousers with you. You know, in case you get a hole in one.
Those days, Will used to have a melancholic gaze. Attending customers during the day and working the dungeons during the night was not an easy life.
In Moonlighter, you control Will, the young, white-haired owner of the Moonlighter shop, where Will sells items he's gathered while moonlighting as an adventurer in the dungeon not far from his house. The 5 procedurally generated dungeons have Zelda written all over them, and when you're exploring the interconnected rooms, there are always plenty of pots to smash, innocent bushes to stab, and ravines to tumble down. You'll also face off against a variety of enemies with different behaviours, and that means adapting or getting cornered quickly. At first, Moonlighter might feel like a bit of a vicious circle. To get better weapons, you need materials and quite a formidable stack of coins, but to get either of those, you're going to have to go back into the dungeon and fight monsters for parts to sell when you return home. Once back at the Moonlighter, it's time to decide what you want to sell, then put a price on it and wait for the customers to swarm the shop. All of this shop management is easier than it sounds though, as you can find all the information about the popularity of the items as well as their ideal selling price once discovered in your trusty notebook. There isn't much need for a story past this gameplay loop either, since the prospect of unlocking the next dungeon and seeing what's in there proves the perfect motivator, and in this way, Moonlighter manages to suck you into both the exciting adventurer's life and the more sedate job of selling your wares.
Maybe there's something we can all learn from Will.
The final game on this list, Towerfall Ascension, is a marvellous multiplayer game, a 4-player brawl that feels like a 16-bit approximation of Bomberman, Smash Brothers and Mario Kart's battle mode. In it, up to 6 generic fantasy types fight for supremacy in a handful of 2-dimensional arenas, where platforms are just too high to easily bound around, and dropping through holes in the bottom of the screen just transports them back to the top. Unlike Smash Brothers though, Towerfall offers ranged combat, and every player has a stock of arrows that they can fire across the level, and these can only be restocked by grabbing them from where they drop, finding new ones in a treasure chest, or best of all, catching an opponent's as it flies towards your face. Although there is a basic single-player mode present, Towerfall Ascension is a pure multiplayer game at heart, cut from the same cloth as SNES Mario Kart, Micro Machines, and of course Bomberman. This is the type of game that creates memories and dissolves friendships, all soundtracked by the pained swears of the defeated and the uproarious cheers of the victors. And because of this, it's really no wonder that you wanted us to include this on our list. And that's us done. Thanks to everybody who listed their favourite games in the comments section of the original video. Without you, this video wouldn't exist. If you're looking for other great Switch games to ask for Christmas and haven't watched them already, check out the other videos that are on screen now to find out about even more gems for the Switch that you might have missed. And please do like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to this channel for daily videos from Eurogamer. Goodbye and good gaming.